The next design element is the aesthetic value of a knife, or how it looks. People say that the comfort of a knife is the most important aspect, but that's true, but a knife needs to look good to make someone pick it up, and then they can feel how comfortable it is. You can make the most comfortable knife ever made, but if it isn't pleasing to the eye, chances are it won't even be touched. And I know that beauty lies in the eye of the beholder, but a knife that just looks repulsive doesn't have much of a chance to get sold. So make it look good. I'll get over some basic aesthetic design principles when we get into the drawing video. We'll hit on this a little bit more in depth. But another point is don't over design your knife. Don't get caught up in making fantasy knives if you're a beginner. That can be done later on after you get the basics down. And so then you can really expand your creativity and the design aspects once you get the basics down. So for now, don't design beyond your capability. First, just learn to design a knife that's functional and comfortable, and also we don't want to under design a knife. Think about what the grip will be like, how it's going to feel in your hand. This is about the overall feel of the knife also. Don't make it too boring. Avoid using straight lines and sharp corners. This one on the left here, it has a nice curving spine to it, but I've got this really sharp corner here. It's not really pleasing to the eye, and it also isn't really comfortable either. And this is one of my very first knives. I've got a kind of a little bit of a curve back here. It looked a little bit better if I'd have curved that a little bit more. And I've just got like a straight shot right in through here with a little bit of a finger groove, but not much. So this knife is a little bit under designed in my opinion. It could have been better, and now that I have grown in my knife making abilities and in the way I see things, I can see that now. Another thing is Damascus. Whenever you're making a Damascus knife, make sure you have the good Damascus pattern that's placed properly in the knife. If you have a Damascus pattern that's like a twist pattern that's slanted, it looks a lot better if it's running this way. If you put it backwards to where it's running like this, it's going to have kind of an odd, uncomfortable look to it. People might not be able to point their, put their finger on it, but it's a little bit visually disturbing if it's not going with the flow of the knife. This turned out really nice because these little concentric circles here, they kind of taper down toward the tip. You also have some nice lines coming from the tip and going back with the flow of the knife here. Now this one over here is several years later, and if you look at it, it has nice gentle curving lines, nice underbelly under here, nice finger grooves, really comfortable, and it's a sleek design, and the fit and finish overall is a better knife too after learning a lot of things. But whenever you're looking at aesthetic value, you want to make it interesting. This is cross-cut mammoth ivory, and the way it's cut is these are like growth rings on a tree in that mammoth ivory. And what I do is I line it up to where you can follow the grain pattern from one side to the other, and it's all lined up. That looks really good. Also, something to avoid is putting something right in the center of the knife. This right here is kind of a focal point, but it's not right in the center. It makes it just a little bit boring whenever it's perfectly symmetrical. And also, these curves, these rings back here, they kind of echo the shape of the back end of that handle back in there. So whenever you're looking for things in a handle particularly, you want to be able to where things flow with the knife. It It flows with the natural contours of the knife. And you want to make sure that, like I said earlier, if you're doing Damascus, make sure you have a nice piece, and that the pattern makes sense with the handle, and they don't conflict with each other. And whenever we do our drawing here soon, here in a few videos, then I'll get more into this. Another thing is pins. Some people get way too many pins going on in their knife, and you don't need 20 pins. It just doesn't look good. It looks a little bit too busy, and some people will over design things to where it looks really gaudy. And I'm not saying make it boring, but I'm also saying don't make it really busy to where it's going to be displeasing to the eye. So whenever you're designing a knife, like I said, we'll get into that later on, to where we're actually putting one together and putting a handle on there. Think about how it flows, how the overall look is, and think about, is this visual balance, which we're going to get into the next video, is it visually balanced? Does it look good or does it look awkward?